Rene, the market perhaps digesting recent run-ups in the stock, but also digesting what you warned that you're seeing in the smartphone arena, and that's because of memory prices. Just dictate a little bit of what you've seen in the space.
Good morning, Caroline, and I'm in San Jose, not San Diego, but that's okay. You know, in terms of the overall market and the quarter, we could not be happier in terms of the results that we had this last quarter. It was $1.5 billion in that neighborhood of revenue, which not long ago used to be an annual revenue number for the company. Our data center business doubled year on year, and we're seeing huge demand for our new product, the Arm AGI CPU. So all of that has really added up to a terrific quarter. To your question, as far as smartphones, we have definitely seen a slowdown there as well. However, I would say compared to some of the other folks in the market, we're not really as exposed there, probably for two big reasons. Number one, a lot of our volume comes from the premium segment where the royalty rates are quite rich using version 9. And where the slowdown has taken place, we've seen is mostly in the lower end of the market where there's not a large royalty contribution for us.
Okay, so not a large royalty perspective coming from the smartphones, but where the dictation of growth seems to be coming from is CPU. Not only CPU architecture that is used broadly by, you name check the Googles, the Amazons, the way in which we're seeing CPU further grow in your customers, but also you're building the chip yourself. How do you see that market expanding?
Yeah, we are. For 35 years, the way we delivered product to our customers was through IP, the blueprint that they use to essentially build chips based upon the Arm technology. As you know very well, we've seen huge growth in our data center business over the last number of years. Amazon with Graviton had just announced version 5, Graviton 5. Google Axion, Microsoft Cobalt, and of course NVIDIA with Vera. But what we've seen, Caroline, in the last number of months has been this explosion of demand for agentic workloads. And agentic workloads essentially mean that agents are now putting queries on the data center that need to have answers back very quickly. All of that work regarding the agentic management, orchestration, scheduling, et cetera, that is the kind of work only a CPU can do, only a CPU. This is not something an accelerated GPU can manage. So what's happening? Demand for CPUs is exploding, and the timing of the Arm AGI CPU launch, I think, just reinforced huge demand for that kind of product. So we are now seeing demand for not only the IP that people use to build chips based on Arm in the data center, but the Arm AGI CPU. And I think I mentioned on the call, we had visibility to about $1 billion of orders that we had in our forecast. That number over the last 5 weeks has doubled to $2 billion. So demand is certainly not a problem.
Extraordinary since you first announced the move towards building it yourself, towards what we see as this focus on this particular CPU. But where from? We know that Meta has been a key partner on this, but where else are you getting demand from, Rene?
Yeah, so the partners we talked about at launch was Meta, of course, OpenAI, a large partner, Cerebras, SK Telecom, Rebellions, SAP. So it's pretty broad. F5 Networks, we're seeing it across network infrastructure, but largely around simply putting more CPUs inside the data center. The other thing that we did, Caroline, with this product is, when you're building something of this nature, it's not just a chip, but it's a system. And we work closely with partners like Supermicro and Lenovo and ASRock, who build the systems in racks that customers can order. And these 36 kilowatt air-cooled racks, one of the beauties of the Arm AGI CPU is that you can get twice the performance in the same power versus a comparable x86 rack. So, and of course, we're known for power efficiency, so that's not a surprise. But it is one of the other things that's catalyzing demand.
We've got to talk a little bit about supply. You're talking about how you're built, making sure that the servers are there, the way in which we can put them in the data centers is there, the partners you're working with. But time and time again, we're hearing from everyone that the blocker really isn't demand, it's supply. Have you had any issues with that?
Yeah, so what we said on the earnings call was the $1 billion of orders that we talked about, we have the supply for that. Now what we have is additional demand for another $1 billion of demand of product, and that is bringing it to a total of $2 billion. And we're working with everybody in the supply chain, whether it's TSMC, the memory suppliers, SK Hynix, Micron, and Samsung. But the beauty of all this, Caroline, is that this is not perishable demand. It's not something that if a window closes, there's not going to be a need for compute. So we are thinking about this in the long game. We've talked about a $15 billion target by FYE 31, so that's calendar 30 for your viewers. And basically what that means is we are very confident that we are on track to that $15 billion number in a very, very short time, which is quite transformational for the company relative to the size of opportunity and the amount of revenue that we'll deliver.
Size of opportunities, size of role for you, Rene, has been expanding because you're still CEO of Arm, but you're also taking on leading the SoftBank International part of the business. And this is all about working with other parts of SoftBank's ecosystem in the chip arena. I just think of some of the acquisitions Ampere's been put into the portfolio. You've got GraphCore. How do you see your role changing? How do you see the impact of SoftBank more broadly in the chip space?
Yeah, thank you for the question. There's a lot of synergy to the kind of work that SoftBank is doing. When you think about some of the announcements they've made recently around in Portsmouth, Ohio, for example, a huge 10-gigawatt data center facility working with the U.S. Department of Energy as well as SoftBank Energy. And then we've got companies in the SoftBank portfolio like Ampere and GraphCore. A lot of synergy between the kind of work they're doing that could fit into ARM. So Masa has asked me to help with that orchestration and that coordination across the companies. So in one extent, yeah, it may look like, oh my gosh, he's got two jobs. But on the flip side, there is a lot of coordination that we get benefit from both sides. So I'm happy to help in any way that I can.